When you talk about scoring point guards and the greatest scoring point guards to ever play the game, the list for me is always, and it's always been for a few years now, Iverson, Steph, Kyrie, Dame, right? In no particular order. But with Dame doing everything he's doing right, like it's almost time, like you got to have a convo. Is he the greatest scoring point guard to ever play the game? And for him, the case would be these 60-point outbursts, doing things that, basically the titans of the sport did. The Kobe Bryants, the big men, Michael Jordans and the Wilt Chamberlains, right? The James Hardens, like these are guys that are 6'6" and above, 6'5" and above, right? But this guy's doing this. I've stood next to Dame. The guy's 6'1", 6'2" max, right? So, just seeing him do this, the body of work that he has now with the scoring displays, and even though some of these came in the most inflated and easy to score era in basketball, this is how you maximize it, right? I think like with him, his case, like no one out of all this whole group, they don't have the conditioning and the power that he has. Just the core, just the strength to just pull up from deep effortlessly. His range is unmatched. No disrespect to Steph. I mean, it's just clear to see at this point. The guy's upper body is so strong. His lower body is so strong. He works his ass off in the summer. He can pull from anywhere. Damn near half court, you see it. He's got a first step that, is explosive. It's powerful. He can get to the rim, finish strong, takes contact. And he has the ability to put the ball on the floor anytime and break his guy down in mid-range and, operate out of triple threat. But he's the most straight down to business scorer out of this group on the fact that he wastes no time. He may not make it look as pretty as, or go out of his way to make it look as pretty as those guys, and it looks nice, but, it's straight down to business. He has his combos, and he's like, it's like Street Fighter. Like he's coming at you, either he's stepping back, he's pulling from deep, or he's blowing by you for a layup. And, he'll obviously have, between the legs, behind the back, into a side step or a step back again. And he'll do that out of the triple threat in the mid-range. But it's just so much, like it's repeatedly the same actions, but he just does it in such a sharp way. He's so strong. He gets it off so effortlessly, so quick. And there's nothing the defender can do no matter what you do. He just reads you. And he has this 3-4 moves, like especially the side step and then the hard sweep to the rim, that he just pairs with a counter. It's just textbook scoring. He's the most textbook out of these guys because he wastes no time. There's no wasted movement. It's just straight down to business. These are the fundamental things that you teach kids when you play basketball, right? When you first pick up a ball, this is what you're taught: how to jab, how to sweep, sweep low at your ankles, rip through hard, finish strong, how to protect the ball when you're finishing, and just like that separation that he creates, how quick he gets those shots off. That is all-time stuff, right? It's unmatched, basically. And the fact that he does it, it's more the will. I think mentally he matches like a Kobe or AI scoring-wise, and I think Kobe's the greatest scorer ever. So again, just the fact that I say that just tells you it's not about scoring titles. It's not necessarily about numbers. It's about how you did it. And I think, the feeling you got when you watch them, but also just like there's no matchup that he's afraid of. There's no matchup that he fears. It doesn't matter if it's a shitty team. It doesn't matter if it's a playoff game. He's going to do it. He's going to maximize it, right? The only knock on him, or the only thing you could counter with, is that he hasn't done it in the finals like a Kyrie or a Steph or AI. But for him, his counter for that easily would be, I've never give me one of those guys help. I mean, Iverson aside, but give me the help that they had, and allow me to pair myself with a KD or a LeBron, see what I do, right? His heart, his mentality, his will, and just like his aggression is at that position for how long he's done it, how many nights like this he's had. Obviously, the 71 is one thing, but the 71 stands out because he's had so many 60s, 50s, 40s, right? It's a story now. Like it's a storied scoring career, but to do this at 6'1" is mind-boggling, right? And you just see him, he's small out there, and then you see him in person. It's a league of freaks in nature. It's a league of big guys still, athletic, right? And even though the league is more inflated scoring-wise, he maxes it out. And even Dame, when he first came in, man, like the thing that stood out, and guys like Kobe put him over right away, it's because he was doing it in the half court. It's because he was getting tough buckets. It's because he was creating separation and tight gaps, even when defense and half court defense, zone defense, rim protectors, 2 rim protectors were very relevant. Dame was still doing his thing, still getting 30, 40 anytime. But for him, I think you can make a strong argument that in terms of explosive scoring, in terms of just go get me 50, give you the ball, get out of the way, he's the one. I think for Steph, obviously the most prolific in this era. He's done it on the highest stages repeatedly. He's been the most consistent doing it that deep in the playoffs, and his ability to dance on defenders and create shots off the dribble. Obviously, he's very deceptive. His floater game, his mid-range is still is there, for sure. But he's got weapons, right? Like he changed the game with that shot. He won jewelry with that shot. He won trophies. There's so much he did. So for the everyday casual fan, like it's always gonna be Steph. But also not just for the casual. I shouldn't say that. But if you were really to talk about it with just basketball people, a lot of them would still say Steph because he's done it against the toughest coverages that a point guard could see, just doing it in the finals repeatedly. Deep in the Western Conference rounds, and it's like for him, just the way he does it, how smooth he is, how pure his shot is. I think his efficiency numbers obviously jump out. But again, all these guys put up efficiency numbers. Iverson was in a different era, much harder to score. Degree of difficulty was through the roof. But for these three, I think Kyrie, Dame, and Steph, they on any given night could go off on mainly jumpers. They don't even need to step inside the key, and they'll have a 60-piece. And it's just like they're shooting 60, 70% from the field. So it's a ridiculous level of marksmanship. But, with Steph, his ability to move off the ball and just how conditioned he is, I don't think he's as strong as Dame, but the conditioning is there. Like Steph can just keep going, and I think he's probably the most conditioned scoring point guard ever for sure. Probably the most conditioned player ever. But, with Steph, I always felt like with Steph, it was like I saw it with Mark Jackson, and you saw it later on in the playoffs in certain series. But it wasn't like, I'm going to give this guy the ball and he's going to go get me 40 or 50 every single night by himself. For him, you have a whole system structure around him. There's a lot of off-ball movement with Draymond. There's a lot of picks and Kevin Looney, and there's so many guys that have done so many things to get Steph open. It's a machine, but also he benefits from having a Clay, next to him, another marksman, another sharpshooter that's going to always pull the defense towards him. So it's always like there was little holes and gaps in the Warriors' offense, and he always found them and he maximized them to the fullest. But Steph's argument would be that I did it. I won scoring titles. I averaged 30. I averaged 30 plus. But I did that in the finals, right? Like when it's real pressure, and I won. I don't think he's as explosive as Dame. I don't think he's as aggressive. Like I think for him, you could kind of neutralize him at times. But we've seen Dame have to struggle through the playoffs as well. So Steph has the most body of work out of this whole crew, where it's just like you have such a large sample size to look at it. But I always wonder what a Dame would have done in Steph's positions, because he's always there, he's always available, he's always ready, his body's always firing, and he just never had that KD or LeBron by his side, or even like the Warrior system, like what Steve Kerr and those guys built there. It's a machine. I don't know if Dame ever had the machine to that point. But again, it's up for you, it's up for your opinion. And then Kyrie, I think Kyrie took what Iverson did in his creativity, where Iverson was like, you didn't know what he was going to do. It was just like an artist on a basketball court. The mid-range game was there, but it was more so how he's dancing on you. One possession down, he could come down, break you down, finish. The next possession down, he could dance on you and just hit a three. Next possession down, he might go baseline and reverse layup. Next possession down, he's at the elbow, hitting you with a couple combos and just getting a shot off. So it was very unpredictable with Iverson's attack. I think basketball was at its best that time, in terms of defensive pressure, but also that forced guys to be more creative. It wasn't played analytically where it's just drive, kick, threes, and layups. So you really got to see Iverson. I would hate to, like with Iverson, he'd be so held back in this type of era where he has got to play a robotic brand of basketball. But with Kyrie, he brought that, but I think he sharpened it, he polished it, and he was just like a 6'2", 6'3" Kobe, where it's like out of triple threat, lethal. He doesn't even need to dribble, but he's the best ball handler ever, right? I think skill for skill, Kyrie checks all these guys. His finishing ability unmatched, his ball handling ability. I think Iverson had the most lethal crossover. That was clear, but I think Kyrie's ability to handle the ball unmatched, right? And Steph's right there as well, but Kyrie he was like a little bit sharper. He was a little more fluid with everything that he did, a little stronger with every combo. And then just his ability to create, man, post game, footwork. Again, the Kobe Bryant package, right? The best player I've ever seen. The ability to create off the dribble, the ability to hit the three. transition three. You know, he could do everything that all these guys could do. Like what Dame does, what Kyrie does, what Steph does, what AI does. Kyrie's able to package all of it together and really sharpen it, 99 out of 100 on everything. And, I think he's the most skilled point guard that we've ever seen, bar none. And just the way he does it individually, doesn't need a screen, just go get you a bucket any given time. Did that in the finals, won a chip like that. Won a chip against Steph like that. Going up against a guy at his position, similar everything. MVP guy, like he outperformed him on that stage a few times, I feel like. But he did it with that arsenal, just nasty, dancing on you, counters, left and right, street game, right? And doing it in a very fundamentally sound and polished way. The only thing on Kyrie would be is like when you look at scoring point guards, when you look at his body of work, sure his peak matches them, maybe even best them, but he didn't have these games where it was like 50s and 60s and just that Damian Lillard level of consistency where every single night he had to will a team. And he had to go do these things like go get 70 to win, right? Go get 60 to win. I think he was in different positions, team-oriented team in Boston, sacrificing obviously with LeBron, but they were always playing for chips. So, and now he's with Luka, right? Again, Dame would probably say, put me in those positions, watch what I do, right? But for Kyrie, the fact that he did it, I think what he did on that stage, finals-wise, what he did in 2016, that's the greatest performance I've seen in my lifetime from a scoring point guard, just going to mano-a-mano, breaking guys down, mixing them up, doing it in so many different ways with peak pressure. I think that was unmatched, right? And Steph 2022 last year took it there as well. But you just saw how diverse Kyrie's game was. Left-hand floaters, post-game, footwork, counters, everything. I think Kyrie's skill level is the deepest with these guys. But I think his durability at times or his availability kind of puts him like, you can't call him the greatest scoring point guard ever. For me personally, it's always going to be AI just because like I'm biased towards him, but I also saw him do it. He's my favorite player, but I also saw him do it in an era where it was two big men in the paint, physicality, bumping you every time, zone defense, peak everything, right? A mano-a-mano, going at Kobe, going at Mike, going at the best that we've ever seen, LeBron, like you name it. So there was something about AI. I stood next to AI as well. I stood next to all these guys. AI is a legit 5'11". Steph is like a 6'2", 6'3". Dame is like a 6'1". Kyrie is like a legit 6'2". But like with Dame, I saw with AI, it was just like a different level in terms of the pressure and in terms of him not giving a fuck about the pressure. So that was just a beautiful time of basketball, man. But, with him, again, you don't look at the efficiency shit because, like, real hoop heads don't even look at that because you just know it was always going to be with a one-star, 5'11" guard, no co-star by his side, playing against the defensive scorers had to play in that time. Everyone's efficiency was lower, right? But with him, it was just like the attack was just so relentless. A 5'11" guy was able to do, in an era where they were doing it, match the Kobes, match the Jordans, match the LeBrons, match the D-Wades, match all these bigger giants, right, the Garnetts. He was able to take games over like no other. And I've never seen a small guard like that strike fear into a defense. Strike fear into a defense on the fact that this guy might take the game over and beat us by himself. And he damn near did it, right? Sixers game 2, like they were pretty close. They were pretty close in game 3, like, in the finals I'm talking about. But, the will, I think Dame matches his will. I think Dame matches his heart. And I think Dame's going to have the most in terms of outstanding performances.